Hello and welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays. We at the Museums of the University of St Andrews will be encouraging you to take 10 minutes for a break to tune in to Museum Storytime. Our collections are full to the brim of objects that have fascinating stories to tell, and this is when we'll tell you them. My name's Eilidh and I'm going to be your host. So today on Museum Storytime we're going to be focusing more on buildings than a specific object. And I'm going to tell you the story of the Bell Pettigrews, a St Andrews power couple, if you will, and the reason that we have our wonderful Bell Pettigrew Museum of Natural History. The museum is named after Professor James Bell Pettigrew, who was a Scottish anatomist. He was Professor of Anatomy at the university between 1875 and his death in 1908. He was also an expert on animal locomotion and flight. He was an early aviation pioneer. He built flying machines. In 1903, not long before the Wright brothers made their first flights, Pettigrew had his own petrol engine-driven aeroplane built. He flew it for 60 feet down a St Andrews street before it crashed, and he broke a femur in the accident. The Bell Pettigrew set up home at Swallowgate on the Scores. This was because he was able to observe birds flying from its windows, named aptly. So Swallowgate is now home to our School of Classics in the university. Now, how did Swallowgate become part of the university? How did the Bell Pettigrew Museum come into being? How did University Hall get a new dining hall? The answer is Elsie Gray, later known as Elsie Bell Pettigrew. She was a woman of independent wealth who was one of the university's most significant benefactors. She was from Hartlepool and died in 1937 in St Andrews. After her husband's death in 1908, we know that she wrote to the university offering to pay for a natural history museum in his memory, stipulating it must be named after him, which it was, as we now know. She was really intimately involved in the detail of the creation of this new museum. She insisted that only the best cabinets were to be used, and those chosen were made by Sage & Co, who supplied the counters at Harrods, which gives you an idea of the finesse. She also selected the intricate tiling that runs throughout the museum, which still survives today and is so deeply connected with the museum's overall aesthetic to this day. Our friends at the Special Collections Department of the university have the letters written on mourning paper from Elsie to the university after the death of her husband, which detail her donation and thank the university for the condolences that she had received. Elsie didn't advertise her own involvement in the projects that were brought to fruition with her donations, but she did do an excellent job of drawing people's attention to them. They were central to the university's 500th anniversary celebrations in 1911. So the celebrations were opened at a big banquet in the Bell Pettigrew Museum, and the extension of University Hall that she had paid for hosted the closing celebrations. Now, unbelievably, women weren't allowed at either of these events. The Bell Pettigrew Museum was apparently incapable of accommodating women due to a lack of facilities. Elsie went on to marry Professor James Musgrove, who was the first Bute Chair of Anatomy at the university and a colleague of Professor James Bell Pettigrew. Interestingly, all three of them are buried at the Eastern Cemetery in St Andrews at the Cathedral. Elsie outlived both of them, and her donations have clearly outlived them all. Bye!